The 9:45 a.m. flight from Miami to Los Angeles was halfway full, humming with the familiar low chatter of passengers settling in. Coffee steam mingled with recycled air, overhead bins snapped shut, and the faint smell of vanilla lotion drifted from row 12. Amelia Foster, flight attendant for Silverwing Airlines, was on her third shift of the week. She was used to the rhythm: boarding, service, turbulence, smiles, and the same rehearsed speech about safety that passengers ignored. But this morning she felt off. Maybe it was the lack of sleep or the way her manager barked at her for being too slow with first class. Whatever it was, she was jittery. Her hands trembled as she poured orange juice from the silver carafe into a plastic cup. She moved down the aisle with her cart, keeping her practiced smile fixed. "Good morning, sir. Coffee, tea, juice." Her voice was soft, automatic. Then she reached row 17. A woman sat by the window, maybe mid-30s, maybe older, with dark curls spilling over her shoulder like a glossy river. Her skin glowed with an olive tone, and her expression carried the kind of calm that made people step aside. She wore a simple white dress, spotless, flowing like light fabric might if it had grace built into it. "Good morning," Amelia said, her smile widening naturally. "Would you like something to drink?" The woman looked up slowly, her brown eyes deep and unreadable. "Orange juice, please." Amelia nodded, relieved. Easy enough. She reached for the carafe, tilted it, and her hand jerked at the wrong angle. Cold juice splashed over the woman's lap. Amelia gasped. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to." She grabbed napkins, fumbling with them, trying to dab at the fabric. The Latina woman didn't flinch. She simply stared at Amelia with that same unreadable calm, her voice low but firm. "Don't touch me." Amelia froze mid-motion. The command wasn't loud, but it landed with a strange weight, like the sound had a gravity of its own. The air between them thickened. Even the faint rumble of the engines seemed to pause, as if the plane itself was holding its breath. Passengers nearby turned, sensing something, though none could explain what. Amelia stepped back, her throat dry. I'm really sorry, ma'am. I'll get you another seat or..." The woman's gaze lifted not to Amelia but past her, through the narrow aisle, through the ceiling of the aircraft. Her eyes seemed to see beyond metal and cloud. Then she whispered a single sentence. "This plane will not continue." Amelia blinked. Excuse me?" The woman turned her head slightly, speaking as if she were addressing someone unseen. "Ground it." And just like that, the plane lurched. Passengers gasped as the engines throttled down. Trays rattled, coffee sloshed over edges, and the captain's voice crackled over the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. We're, experiencing a mechanical issue and need to make an emergency landing. Please remain calm and seated." Amelia's breath hitched. Her mind scrambled. What mechanical issue? There had been no alert, no warning. She knew enough about flight systems to know that these things didn't happen without reason. The Latina woman looked serene, unbothered by the sudden chaos. She dabbed at her wet dress with a napkin that hadn't existed a second ago. Amelia swore she didn't hand her one, and the stain simply vanished. When their eyes met again, Amelia felt a chill crawl up her spine. Who are you?" she whispered. The woman smiled faintly, the corner of her mouth curving like she knew more than she should. "You'll see soon enough." The flight attendants scrambled through the aisle, following emergency procedures. Amelia went through the motions, securing carts, calming passengers, giving clipped responses. But her mind wasn't in the cabin anymore. She couldn't stop glancing at the woman in 17A. And every time she looked, those brown eyes were already on her. As the plane began descending toward Dallas for an unplanned landing, Amelia's headset crackled. The captain's voice, usually steady, sounded shaken. "Amelia, get to the cockpit when you can. Now." Her stomach flipped. She nodded at her coworker, then slipped past rows of tense passengers whispering prayers and questions. When she entered the cockpit, both pilots were pale. The first officer stared at the monitors, sweat dotting his temples. "What's going on?" Amelia asked. "Everything just cut," the captain said. Instruments went haywire, autopilot disengaged on its own. And then, he swallowed. Then it just fixed itself. Like nothing happened. Amelia's gaze darted to the window. Clouds rolled by, sunlight slicing through in golden streaks. Everything looked normal except for the dread in her chest. The captain turned to her. "Who's sitting in 17A?" Her heart skipped. "You noticed too?" He nodded slowly. When she boarded, the sensors glitched. Her ticket didn't scan right. No name in the manifest, no seat assigned. "I thought it was a system error." Amelia's pulse roared in her ears. "Her name's not on the manifest?" "No. Whoever she is, she's not supposed to be on this flight." The plane's intercom chimed again. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain. We're beginning our descent into Dallas for a precautionary landing. Please remain calm." Amelia leaned against the door, dizzy. She thought about the juice, the cold spill, her trembling hands, and the woman's words. This plane will not continue. Down the aisle she saw 17A again. The woman was staring out the window, sunlight catching her hair like a halo. And in that moment, Amelia realized something that made her blood run cold. The woman wasn't reflected in the window. Not at all. The plane touched down hard, rubber shrieking against asphalt. The cabin erupted in scattered gasps and clapping. The reflexive kind passengers do when they're scared but trying to pretend everything's fine. Amelia didn't clap. Her eyes never left 17A. The Latina woman sat perfectly still, hands folded in her lap, expression unchanged. Even as the plane slowed to a halt and the captain's shaky voice came over the intercom, "Welcome to Dallas, folks. Please remain seated for a moment. We're being directed to a private hangar due to, security protocols." She didn't move. Amelia's coworker Jenna leaned over, whispering, "Did you hear that? Private hangar? What the hell's going on?" Amelia didn't answer. Her mouth felt dry as sandpaper. She forced herself to push the beverage cart aside and walk down the aisle. Her heart pounded with every step. "Ma'am?" she said softly when she reached the row. The woman turned her gaze from the window. Her eyes were so calm, so deep, Amelia almost forgot how to breathe. I just wanted to make sure you're okay," Amelia stammered. "About the spill earlier." The woman smiled, faint knowing. "It was never about the spill." Amelia blinked. I don't understand." "You will." The woman's voice was like honey laced with thunder. "Tell your captain I want to speak to him. Before anyone else boards this plane." Amelia froze. You can't just do as I ask." There was no sharpness in her tone, but the weight behind it made Amelia's chest tighten. She nodded without thinking and hurried to the cockpit again. When she stepped inside, the captain was already on a call with the ground crew. His face looked like someone had erased all color from it. "They said Homeland Security's waiting," he muttered. "They're not telling me why." "Captain," Amelia said, her voice trembling. The woman in 17A, she says she wants to speak to you." The captain turned. "What?" she said, "before anyone else boards." He stared at her for a long second, then sighed. "All right. Fine. Keep passengers seated. Let's see what this is." He left the cockpit, buttoning his uniform jacket with a shaky hand. Amelia followed, a knot twisting in her stomach. As soon as they reached row 17, the woman looked up, that same calm still radiating from her like warmth from sunlight. "Captain Morgan," she said softly. The captain stiffened. "How do you know my name?" She tilted her head slightly. "You've been thinking about changing airlines. You're tired of this route, tired of the weight you carry from 2009. He blinked, color draining from his face. How do you know that?" Amelia looked between them, confusion rising. What's she talking about? The woman didn't wait for an answer. She lifted her hand and for a second, Amelia thought she saw light flicker beneath her skin. "This aircraft was not safe to continue its course," the woman said quietly. "Something was going to fail. In 43 minutes over the Arizona desert. A hydraulic line corroded beyond inspection." The captain's eyes widened. "That's impossible. Our last maintenance check." "Missed it," the woman interrupted gently. "It would have caused a full system loss. You would have never made it to Los Angeles." Silence filled the cabin. Amelia's stomach dropped. "How do you know that?" she whispered. The woman looked at her, and for a brief, dizzying instant, Amelia swore she saw something behind those eyes. Stars, endless and ancient, like she was staring into the reflection of the universe itself. Then the woman said, "Because I was sent to stop it." The air around them changed, heavier, charged. Passengers craned their necks, sensing something but not understanding it. "Who sent you?" the captain managed to ask, his voice cracking. The woman's gaze softened. "Someone who still cares about the ones who fly." Before either of them could speak, the cabin door opened. A group of ground officers climbed aboard. 3 men in suits and 1 woman with an earpiece. Their presence was abrupt, like the static before lightning. "Captain Morgan?" one of them asked sharply. "We need to speak to the passenger in 17A immediately." But when they turned, the seat was empty. Amelia gasped. She was just here, she was right here. The officers exchanged glances, their calm professionalism flickering into confusion. "Ma'am, please stay back." They checked the lavatories, the galley, even the cockpit. Nothing. The woman had vanished. Not a trace, not a single footprint, not even a damp napkin from the spill. Amelia stood frozen in the aisle, her pulse racing. The captain ran a hand through his hair. How the hell did she just disappear on a sealed aircraft? Amelia swallowed hard. "Captain," she said something about the hydraulic system. One of the officers turned sharply. "What did she say exactly?" "She said it was corroded, that it would have failed in 43 minutes. The man didn't reply. He took out a phone, murmured something into it, and walked briskly toward the exit. Amelia sank into an empty seat, her knees shaking. The buzz of voices filled the cabin. Passengers whispering theories, crew trading nervous glances. Her coworker Jenna leaned close. Who was that woman? Amelia stared at the empty window seat, sunlight spilling across the untouched cushion. "I don't know," she said quietly. But she wasn't human. That evening, the passengers were moved into the terminal, frustrated and confused. Mechanics swarmed the aircraft like ants. Amelia stayed back, watching through the glass wall as the crew worked under the wings. Then she saw it. One of the mechanics emerging from beneath the plane, holding a broken metal line. He looked pale, shaken. Even from across the glass, Amelia could read his lips as he said to another. It would have snapped midair. Her heart pounded so hard it hurt. She stumbled back, her breath trembling. The juice. The calm. The words. Everything replayed in her mind like a fever dream. Then as she walked toward the break room, she saw a woman standing by the exit. White dress, soft smile. The same woman. Amelia stopped dead. "You." The woman lifted a finger to her lips. "Don't speak." The hallway lights flickered once, briefly dimming. The air smelled faintly of ozone. "You've done well," the woman said. "You listened." "I don't understand," Amelia whispered. "Who are you?" "Why me?" "Because you still notice things," the woman replied gently. "You still care when you make a mistake. That's rare." Her form shimmered faintly, not glowing, not ghostly, but pure, as if the world couldn't quite hold her. "Keep that heart, Amelia," she said softly. "You'll need it." And then she was gone, the air settling like nothing had happened. Amelia stood there alone, staring at the empty space where the woman had been. Somewhere in the distance, a prayer whispered through her memory, words her grandmother used to say in Spanish before bed. Dios manda a sus ángeles antes de que caigas. God sends his angels before you fall. 3 days passed, but Amelia couldn't shake the feeling that she was still in that sky, suspended in that heavy silence right before the plane dropped power. Sleep came in fragments. She'd jolt awake every few hours, heart racing, certain she could still smell the tang of orange juice and metal, or hear that voice. "This plane will not continue." When she went back to work, her hands wouldn't stop trembling. Even the other flight attendants noticed. Jenna, ever blunt, poked her with a straw during pre-boarding check. "You look like you've seen a ghost." Amelia forced a smile. "Maybe I have." They laughed, but the joke didn't land. Not for her. The airline, of course, had buried the entire incident. The official report called it a precautionary technical landing. Mechanics confirmed a minor hydraulic irregularity. No one was hurt and everything was wrapped in a neat corporate bow. Passengers got vouchers and social media moved on. But Amelia couldn't. Because she knew what had really happened. That night after her shift, she stopped by her mother's small house on the edge of Little Havana. The scent of fried plantains and cinnamon hit her the second she stepped in. It was comforting, a piece of normalcy she hadn't felt in days. Her mom, a short woman with more faith than fear, crossed herself when she saw her daughter's tired face. Mija, you look pale. Are they overworking you again? Amelia kissed her cheek. I'm fine, Mama. Just strange week. They ate together in the kitchen, the old radio humming soft boleros in the background. For a while, Amelia almost managed to forget. Until her mom asked, "Did something happen on your flight?" Amelia hesitated. Why? Her mom's spoon clinked against her cup. Because last night I dreamed of you. You were falling but someone caught you. A woman in white. The fork slipped from Amelia's hand. Her mother frowned. What is it? Amelia took a shaky breath. Mama, what if I told you I met her? Her mom froze. Slowly, she reached across the table and squeezed Amelia's hand. Then she wasn't a dream, Mija. She was sent. At 2:43 a.m. Amelia's phone rang. Unknown number. Half asleep, she answered, her voice hoarse. Hello. Static hissed softly. Then, the faintest whisper. Amelia. Her breath caught. Who is this? Pause. Then the voice, warm, low, unmistakable. You did well. Amelia sat up in bed, every hair on her arm standing on end. How are you calling me? The same way I reached you that day, the voice said. Through what you're willing to hear. Amelia clutched the phone tighter. What do you want from me? To listen. And then the call ended. The room went quiet except for her heartbeat thudding in her ears. On her nightstand sat a half-empty bottle of water, and beside it, a small folded napkin she didn't remember leaving there. It was white, embroidered with a symbol, a pair of wings. The next morning she went back to the airport, driven by something she couldn't explain. She walked through the concourse, past the coffee stands and the echoing announcements, until she reached the Silverwing check-in desk. A maintenance crew was passing by, chatting. One of them, a gray-bearded man named Carlos who'd been part of the inspection team in Dallas, spotted her and smiled faintly. You were on that flight, right? 309. Amelia nodded. Yeah. Carlos leaned closer. You know, there's something they didn't put in the report. That line under the fuselage, the one that was corroded? It wasn't on our maintenance logs. Amelia frowned. Meaning it wasn't supposed to exist. That model of plane doesn't even use that part anymore. It's been phased out for 2 years. Her blood ran cold. So, what did you do with it? She asked quietly. Carlos shrugged. We sent it to analysis. But here's the weird part. When the engineers went to retrieve it the next day, it was gone. Whole crate. Vanished. Amelia stared at him. Vanished. He nodded. No record of pickup. No footage. Like it just disappeared. That night she sat on her balcony, the city humming softly below her. She stared at the stars, wondering which one she'd come from, the woman in white. The wind picked up, warm and heavy, carrying the faint smell of rain. Amelia closed her eyes. Who are you? She whispered into the night. And then she heard it, not through her phone, not through her mind, but through the air itself. A friend. She opened her eyes. Across the street, a light flickered on in an apartment that had been empty for months. And for a brief second, framed in the glow of the window, stood a silhouette, tall, still, feminine. White dress. Dark curls. Watching. Amelia's breath hitched. Then gone. Only the reflection of the streetlight on glass remained. Weeks passed. The story faded from public memory, but Amelia's life began changing in quiet, impossible ways. Her flights always went perfectly. No turbulence, no delays, no passenger incidents. She found herself predicting small things. A storm forming before radar caught it, a crying baby calming the moment she reached out, a lost item appearing where she hadn't looked. Her co-workers started calling her the lucky charm. But she knew better. Something had shifted. One afternoon during a flight to Seattle, an elderly man collapsed midair, heart failure. Amelia rushed over with the emergency kit. His pulse was fading fast. The passengers watched, panicked, whispering. She held his hand, whispering prayers under her breath. Please, please. And then, faintly, a warmth spread from her palms, subtle like sunlight on skin. The man coughed, then gasped. His eyes opened. Amelia froze, tears burning behind her lids. You're okay, she whispered. You're okay. The man stared at her like she was the miracle. After landing, EMTs called it spontaneous revival. They had no explanation. Amelia didn't either. But that night she dreamed again of the woman in white, sitting calmly in 17A, the hum of engines around her. "You're beginning to understand," the woman said. Amelia frowned. "Understand what?" "That faith isn't about belief," the woman replied, smiling faintly. "It's about listening." The scene dissolved into light and Amelia woke with tears on her cheeks. A month later, Amelia took a leave of absence. She didn't tell anyone why. Not her mother, not Jenna, not even herself. She just knew she needed to go somewhere quiet. She ended up in Sedona, Arizona. The same desert the woman had mentioned. The one the plane would have fallen over. One evening she hiked alone into the red canyons, the sky melting into gold. The air was still sacred. And then she saw her again. Standing at the edge of the cliff, white dress flowing, hair moving with the wind. Amelia walked closer, her voice trembling. "You said it would have happened here." The woman nodded. "Yes." Amelia swallowed. "Why me? Why choose me to see this?" "Because you needed to remember," the woman said softly, "that faith isn't built in churches or written in manuals. It's built in how you serve. You spilled juice, Amelia, and instead of hiding it, you cared." Amelia's throat tightened. "I was just doing my job." The woman smiled. "No. You were being human. That's rarer than you think." A tear rolled down Amelia's cheek. "So, what happens now?" The woman's gaze softened. "Now you live. And when the time comes, when you see someone falling, you catch them." The wind shifted, carrying the scent of citrus. Amelia blinked. The woman was gone. Only the orange glow of sunset remained, pouring over the canyon like spilled light. She stood there for a long time, silent, the warmth of the sun wrapping around her. Somewhere far above, a plane passed across the sky, a silver streak slicing through the blue. Amelia watched it, a small smile curving her lips. Then she whispered the words she'd heard that day, but this time they carried peace instead of fear. "This plane will not continue." Because sometimes stopping was the miracle.